There is a moment, most evenings, when the kitchen light catches your husband's hands as he dries the last plate, the same two hands that have dried plates in this kitchen for 40 years and for half a second without asking permission. Your mind runs ahead of itself. It shows you the sink without him, the towel folded but no one there to use it. You blink and the vision is gone. He is still there, still humming that tune he never quite gets right, and the plate is dry. And nothing has actually happened. But something in your chest is already grieving a man who has not left the room. This is not weakness. It is not even exactly fear. It is the mind doing what minds do, reaching forward to touch a wound before it exists, as though early pain might be gentler than pain that arrives on its own schedule, or rather, as though rehearsing the loss enough times might finally make it survivable. This is a script about the particular ache of loving something that will not stay exactly as it is, a partner, a parent, a child, a body that still climbs the stairs without complaint, a season of life you did not know at the time you would miss. And it asks a modest, almost embarrassingly simple question. Does the anticipation of loss protect us from anything at all, or does it only make us pay for the loss twice, once in imagination and once when change actually comes? We are not here to solve impermanence. Buddhism never promised that. We are here to look honestly at what fear does to a life that is for now still whole. There was once a farmer in a valley prone to sudden weather who learned that a clear morning meant nothing. Storms there did not announce themselves. They gathered behind the ridge and arrived within the hour, and so over the years he trained himself to watch the sky the way another man might watch a door he expected trouble to walk through. He stopped fully trusting blue. Every bright afternoon carried somewhere underneath it the flavor of a storm that had not yet come. You may recognize this habit, not with weather perhaps, but with the people you love. The mind, once it understands that anything can change, a marriage, a diagnosis, a child's need for you, a friend's memory, does not simply accept this and rest. It begins to rehearse. It stages small previews of grief, the phone call that hasn't happened, the empty chair, the last conversation played in advance, so that when it truly comes, you will already know the lines. There is a kind of logic to this. If I imagine the wound now, perhaps I will feel it less later. If I stay alert, perhaps I can catch disaster early enough to soften it. But watch what actually happens on the clear afternoons. The farmer, scanning the ridge for a storm that has not come, is not present for the field in front of him, the actual light on the actual grass, this particular gold that will never occur in quite this way again. His vigilance does not make the coming storm, if it comes at all, any smaller. It only shrinks the sunlight he is standing in right now. Neuroscience gives us a name of sorts for this pattern. We carry what researchers call a negativity bias, older than reason, wired in before language. The mind weighs a possible loss more heavily than an equivalent gain, and it will spend real energy, real attention on threats that exist only as forecasts. This kept our ancestors alive in circumstances very different from a quiet kitchen or a hospital waiting room. It is not a flaw in you. It is simply a tool that was built for a different job, and it does not know the difference between a saber-toothed cat behind a rock and the ordinary fact that people we love do not live forever. In the early Buddhist texts, there is a teaching easy to misread, that suffering has two arrows. The first arrow is the actual event, the illness, the ending, the loss itself, which is largely outside our control. The second arrow is the one we fire at ourselves afterward, or this is the part people miss before. The second arrow can arrive early. It can arrive on a Tuesday when nothing at all has gone wrong. simply because the mind decided to rehearse Thursday's imagined grief today. None of this means you should stop caring or force yourself into a brittle cheerfulness that pretends change isn't real. It means something gentler and harder. You do not need to rehearse grief in order to survive it when it comes. The version of you that meets an actual loss will not be the sum of every anticipatory ache you practiced beforehand. It will simply be you present, as you have always somehow managed to be present for everything else that has already happened to you. The storm, if it comes, will teach you how to stand in it. You do not have to learn that lesson twice, once now in fear and once again later in fact. What remains then once the rehearsal stops? Perhaps only the field, perhaps only the gold light you were standing in the whole time. There is a difference between loving a river and trying to keep it in a single shape. A river by its nature is never the same water twice. The current you touched a moment ago is already somewhere downstream, gone, replaced by water that looks identical but is not. If you tried to dam that river so it would always hold the exact reflection you saw one particular evening, you would not be protecting the river. You would be killing it slowly, by insisting it stop being what it is. We do something similar with the people we love, though we rarely notice because it does not feel like damming a river. It feels like devotion. We take a photograph not of film but of the mind, an image of a father, as he was at 50, capable, unbothered by stares, always the one who fixed things. And when that same father is 78, and his hands shake slightly around a coffee cup, some part of us keeps holding up the old photograph and quietly, without cruelty, asking him to match it. Suffering does not only come from a person changing, it comes more precisely from the gap between the photograph in our mind and the person standing in front of us. And it is a gap we made. This is where a Buddhist distinction becomes genuinely useful, not as doctrine but as a kind of relief. Love and attachment are not the same motion, even though they can feel identical from the inside. Love sees the person who is actually here today, in whatever condition today has brought. Attachment sees the person it has decided to keep, and treats every deviation from that fixed image as a small betrayal, a small loss to grieve, even while the person is still fully alive in front of you. Consider a mother watching her daughter, once inseparable from her, build an entire life 2,000 miles away with opinions the mother did not teach her, and a laugh that sounds now slightly different than it did at 16. If the mother's love is really attachment to the daughter, she remembers every visit becomes a small mourning, a search for the girl who is no longer there to find. But if it is love plain and current, the mother meets an actual woman changed, still hers, in every way that matters, only differently. There is a word sometimes translated from the early teachings as clinging upadana, the mind's habit of grasping at a form and insisting it holds still. It is worth sitting with that word for a moment, clinging, because it names the actual physical sensation so well. A hand closed too tightly around something that was never built to be gripped, only held. None of this asks you to love less or to brace for change by loosening your affection in advance, as though distance were a kind of insurance. It asks something almost the opposite. Loosen your grip on the photograph so your hands are free for the person. Love the living person, not the picture in your mind of who they used to be or who you assumed they would always remain. The river was never going to hold still. That was never the deal. The deal was that you got to stand at its edge again and again, and each time, if you actually looked, see something new. What might it feel like then to greet someone you love today, as though meeting them for the very first time, without the old photograph in hand at all? A tree in autumn loses every leaf it has spent all summer growing, and from a distance this can look like ruin. all that green, all that visible photosynthesizing evidence of being alive, gone in a matter of weeks. But the tree does not experience this as an identity crisis. Its life was never actually located in the leaves. It was underground the whole time, in roots that do not care what season it is, quietly continuing the work of being a tree, regardless of what the branches are currently wearing. Many of us, without quite deciding to locate ourselves in the leaves. A man spends 30 years being the person people call when something breaks. The fixer, the one whose competence was for decades simply assumed. Then he retires, or his back will no longer allow the work, and he discovers to his own surprise that he does not know who he is when no one needs fixing. His title is gone. His usefulness as he understood it is gone, and something in him grieves. Not the work itself so much as the version of himself the work had let him be. This happens in smaller, quieter versions everywhere. Parents whose children no longer need managing, only visiting. Caregivers who spend years organized entirely around another person's needs, and then when that person is gone, find themselves standing in a strange, roomy silence, unsure what shape they are supposed to take now that the caring has nowhere to go. A body that used to carry groceries up 3 flights without a thought, and now negotiates each step. In every case, the actual loss is doubled. There is the role ending, and there is the quieter, more frightening fear underneath it, that the self was never more than the role to begin with. But consider the tree again, because the metaphor holds further than it first appears to. Even in the barest part of winter, when there is truly nothing visible above ground, nothing photosynthesizing, nothing to show for itself, the tree has not stopped being a tree. It is not paused, it is not lesser. It is doing invisibly the deep and unglamorous work of staying alive, so that spring, when it comes, has something to grow, leaves out of again. Buddhist teaching offers something here that can sound at first unsettling, and then if you sit with it, becomes almost restful. The self we build out of roles, provider, caretaker, the reliable one, was always a kind of construction, useful, even, beautiful, but never quite the whole of what we are, beneath the constructed self. And this is not a small consolation. There is an awareness that was present before any of those roles began, and will remain present after the last of them ends. You were someone before you were needed. You remain someone after you are no longer needed, in quite the same way. A role can end without your worth ending with it. The leaves were never the tree. They were only for a season, its most visible way of being alive. There is an old observation found across many contemplative traditions that a flower blooming for one night is not diminished by its shortness. In some ways, it is the opposite, because the bloom will close by morning and never open in quite that way again. The person who happens to be present for it tends to look more closely, not less. Nobody hurries past a once-in-a-lifetime bloom checking their phone. We tend to treat this logic as poetic rather than practical, something true of flowers, but not of Tuesday afternoons with people we assume we will see again next week. When we believe, even quietly, that there is unlimited time left, with someone presence becomes optional. We can half listen. We can save the real conversation for later, because later in this assumption is guaranteed. It is only when time reveals itself as finite a diagnosis, an anniversary that makes the years suddenly countable, a friend's sudden absence, that the ordinary moment, the one we were postponing, becomes unbearably precious in retrospect. This is not, despite how it may sound, an argument for constant anxious awareness of an ending hovering over every visit. That would only be the first loop again, fear wearing a new costume. It is something quieter. Accepting that an ending exists somewhere ahead, unspecified, does not have to make you love less, or brace less, or grieve in advance. It can instead make the middle, this part, the part you are actually living in, fuller. Knowing it will end is not a reason to love less. It is a reason to be here now. There was a grandmother in a family scattered across 3 states who began a few years ago to photograph every reunion as though it might be the last. Christmas mornings, birthday dinners, the ordinary Sunday, when everyone happened to be in the same kitchen at once, she captured all of it. Camera raised, angle, adjusted a second shot, taken just to be sure, because somewhere underneath the photographing was a fear she never said out loud. That one of these gatherings would turn out without warning to have been the final one, and she wanted proof that it had happened, that they had all been together, that she had not missed it. It took her the better part of 2 years to notice what the habit had cost her. She was reviewing photographs one evening, an entire folder of them, her grandson's face at every age, blowing out candles, her daughter laughing mid-sentence, her own husband asleep in an armchair with a paper hat askew on his head. And she realized with a kind of quiet horror that she could remember almost none of these moments directly. She remembered the photographs. She had spent 5 reunions looking at her family through a small rectangle of glass, adjusting exposure, checking the shot, thinking about the shot, while the actual moment, unrepeatable, happened just past the edge of the frame, and she had not quite been in it. The next holiday she left the camera in a drawer. She told her daughter why, a little embarrassed by how it sounded out loud, and her daughter, instead of laughing, just took her hand. That evening, she says, now she does not have a single photograph of it. What she has instead is the specific weight of her grandson falling asleep against her shoulder halfway through a story, the particular sound of her husband's laugh at something only he found funny. The whole unrepeatable shape of one ordinary evening held nowhere but in her, which she has come to think may be exactly where it was always supposed to live. Water held in a closed fist does not stay. It finds the gaps between fingers and is gone within moments, and the tighter the fist closes, the faster, ironically, the water disappears, forced out through every seam. Held in an open palm, the same water stays, at least for a while, cupped, visible, available to be seen, and if you are patient and careful, even carried a short distance before it must eventually be set down or poured out somewhere else. Love behaves, it turns out, in a similar way. A closed hand, gripping tightly out of fear that the thing inside it might leave, does not actually prevent the leaving. It only guarantees that whatever time remains will be spent gripping instead of holding, which are not, despite appearances, the same gesture at all. An open-handed love does something different, and it is worth naming plainly, because it is less a feeling than a set of small, specific actions available to almost anyone, regardless of circumstance. It says, the thank you that has been sitting half-formed in the back of the throat for years. It takes responsibility for the part of a strained relationship that was actually yours to own, rather than waiting for the other person to apologize first, or for time to run out before either of you does. It offers presence, real, undivided presence, instead of continuing to postpone it for a someday that, as we have already seen, is never actually guaranteed to arrive. It is worth being precise about what separates this from the fear we began with. Fear acts because it imagines tomorrow bringing catastrophe and tries to get ahead of a disaster that has not happened and may never happen. Open-handed love acts because today, this particular Tuesday, this particular dinner table, this particular hand you could reach across and hold is genuinely quietly passing right now, whether or not anything tragic ever occurs. One is driven by a story about the future. The other is simply paying attention to the present, which happens, as it turns out, to be the only place love has ever actually been able to reach anyone. You cannot keep what you love from changing. A parent will keep aging. A child will keep becoming someone new. The body that once carried groceries without complaint will at some point ask for help, and there is no vigilance, no rehearsal, no tightly closed fist that will alter this. But you can stop letting tomorrow's fear steal what is still undeniably here today. You can open your hand not because you have stopped caring what happens to what is inside it, but because you have finally understood that holding real holding was never the same thing as gripping. If any of this has landed somewhere true, you might try something small tonight, not a technique exactly, more an experiment in attention. The next time you are with someone you love, notice the moment your mind drifts forward towards some imagined future version of this scene, empty or different or ending. You do not have to fight that thought or scold yourself for having it. Just notice it the way you might notice weather passing overhead, and then gently, without force, bring your attention back down to what is actually in front of you. The particular color of the light in the room, the specific sound of their voice right now saying something ordinary, the warmth, if there is any, of a hand you could reach for. You might also ask yourself quietly whether there is a photograph you have been holding up against someone, expecting them to keep matching an old version of themselves that no longer quite exists. This is not an accusation. Nearly everyone does this out of love, not malice. It might simply be worth noticing once who you are actually looking at today versus who you remember looking at 10 years ago, and letting the two images finally separate. And if there is a word left unsaid, an apology owed, a thank you that has been sitting half-formed for longer than you would like to admit, you do not need a special occasion to say it. You do not need to wait for a diagnosis or a milestone birthday to make the moment feel important enough to earn honesty. The moment is already important. It was always going to be important whether or not either of you ever noticed in time. None of this is a checklist to complete or a discipline you must perform correctly. It is closer to a habit of turning again and again gently toward whatever is actually here, rather than toward the rehearsed grief of what might someday not be. You will not get this right every time. Some evenings the mind will still run ahead of itself, and that is simply what minds do. The practice is not perfection. It is only the turning back over and over toward the plate still being dried, the hands still capable. This particular evening, which will not come again in quite this shape. So perhaps tonight, when the kitchen light catches those same two hands, drying the same last plate, and the mind out of old habits starts to run ahead toward the sink, someday empty the towel, someday unused, you will notice it happening the way you have learned to notice weather, and you will come back, not by force, just by turning gently toward what is actually here, the hum of that tune he still cannot quite get right. The particular gold of an ordinary Tuesday evening, a hand you could, if you wanted, simply reach for. You do not have to lose him in your imagination tonight in order to be ready for the day whenever it comes that you might actually lose him. That day, if it arrives, will teach you everything it needs to teach you in its own time, in its own way, as every hard day before it somehow already has. Tonight is not that day. Tonight, the plate is dry, and he is still humming, and you are, if you let yourself be, simply here,